Update. Am I the a-hole for cooking my boyfriend's family Chinese food instead of Chinese food? Original post. I was born in China, but my parents and I moved to the West when I was little. So, I was raised mostly Westerner. But my parents still managed to teach me many Chinese traditions, including food, and I sometimes still cook what they cook. So, I have been with my boyfriend for about 3 years and he lives with me at my place. This Christmas, his family, mom, dad, sister, and nephew, came to visit him from his birth country of Spain for the first time in years. I was excited because I never had a chance to meet them in person. They arrived a few days before Christmas. He went to pick them up at the airport while I was working, so when I came home, they were already there. The meeting didn't go well as I would wish, because the little nephew, as soon as he saw me, started doing the eye-stretching thing. He was immediately reprimanded by his mom and grandparents. But the following days, he made a lot of racist jokes in Spanish like, what do you call someone who doesn't take a shower in Chinese? Shin shan poo. And he was barely reprimanded for that. Besides that, Christmas went great. And the next day we woke up very late. The nephew started saying that he wanted Chinese food for lunch, so my boyfriend's parents asked me if I could make it. I said sure, I was glad to do it. I cooked something my parents would do in a special occasion like these and served the table in a very traditional way, with chopsticks and everything. Then I called everybody to the table and instantly saw their disappointed faces. The nephew said, "What's this?" To which I said, "Chinese food." He grunted and said, "No, it's not," and started to throw a fit. His mom calmed him down, then boyfriend's parents told me, "This isn't what we were expecting." So I asked, "What did you expect?" And they replied, "You know, something like what they serve at restaurants." I tried to explain to them that this is something actual Chinese people eat, but wouldn't listen. They dressed up and went outside to eat at a restaurant. My boyfriend stayed at home, but then called me stupid. He said, "You knew exactly what they meant by Chinese food. I'm trying to make you look good in front of them, but you're not helping me by playing dumb." I asked him to explain himself better, but he just shouted, "When people say Chinese food, the last thing they expect is white rice. Get a freaking clue," and locked himself in our bedroom. Since that incident, they started to speak to me as a toddler, over-explaining everything they asked me to do, and stopped correcting the nephew's racist behavior. I tried to tell my boyfriend to tell them to stop, but he said, "This is your making. Now they think you're brainless." This continued till they left yesterday. My boyfriend and I now barely talk, and I wonder if it's really my fault and I should have known better. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not a-hole. They're from Spain. If you ask them for food from their country, and then afterwards was like, "No, I want the type of stuff you'd get from Taco Bell," they'd lose their mind. Yes, I'm aware Taco Bell isn't Spanish food, but people do understand that racists lump everyone together, right? They would assume Opie's family's Mexican because they ignore every other Spanish-speaking country. They also interchange Spanish and Mexican. They're racist, and so is your boyfriend. And cut the cord and find someone who can appreciate your culture. Edited to add, he might not be the full-blown cartoon villain awful, but he does have some of it in him. His nephew was making awful behavior, and he didn't correct him. He belittled you for not making the right kind of Chinese food. Flipping out about serving white rice when it seems pretty standard to have white rice come with Chinese food takeout. It feels like he's gaslighting you by trying to make this your fault for their awful behavior. He might not have shown you that side before, but he did now. This, despite Opie's protests, her boyfriend is racist. Why she's okay with that is beyond me. She doesn't need to get a clue about Chinese food. She needs to invoke some self-esteem and get a spine, because this is BS. When your partner's family treats you like crap, either your partner ditches the family or you ditch the partner. When people say Chinese food, the last thing they expect is white rice. Where does this dingus thinks rice came from? This just raises questions about what Chinese restaurants serve in Spain. We were in Marbella, and for a change of pace, went out to dinner at a Chinese restaurant. Lots of Brits eating there. Noticed that the standard side wasn't rice, but French fries and chips. Never seen that at a Chinese restaurant in America. Not a-hole, but please dump this racist loser and his whole racist family. I'm sorry, but traditional Chinese or any Asian food is amazing, and they don't know what they're missing. Anyone who tries to pin their family's abuse of you on you is just as bad. This is really telling. I'm trying to make you look good to them. I'm sorry, but they came into your house, and it's expected for you to have to kiss their butts? No, dump the whole trash family. In addition to being racist, Opie's boyfriend had a gall to call her stupid and brainless for doing exactly what his family asked her to do. He clearly doesn't respect her as a person, and has proven that he'll side with his family no matter how poorly they speak to and treat her. Does your boyfriend help pay the rent and bills? Does he insult you a lot? Does he often criticize how you do things? Do you ever feel like you need to always cater to what he wants to have peace in the household? Who makes the decisions in your household? Do you both discuss things and decide on what to do? Or is he the only one making decisions that you were expected to just follow? Did you tell him you did not like the way you were treated by his family and the way he acted? If he still does not realize how wrong he and his relatives were, then that should show you what kind of person he is. I read this and had to go to the bathroom to cry a little. My answer to every single one of those questions might be upsetting for you. I never thought about it, and I'm just speechless right now. Now for the update. Hi, I'm alive. I'm sorry for disappearing for so long. A lot has happened in the last weeks, and sorry if I'm not very detailed. I'm very tired today. For those who already know my story, my boyfriend allowed his family to be racist to me. So after his family left, I tried to break up with him, but he wouldn't let me end a relationship. I tried talking to him, but he would say something along the lines of, "I'm not breaking up with you." I talked to my family about it. They were furious at him, and I had their support, especially my father. I'm so glad that they were by my side. I went to my place with my father to confront my boyfriend and break up once and for all. He didn't take it well, shouted that I can't break up with him, and he won't end a relationship. That's where my dad intervened, and they started fighting. Like fist fighting. My dad ended up being hurt, but he also landed some hits on my boyfriend. I was horrified, crying, screaming, and with no idea of what to do. My boyfriend then grabbed me, got my purse, and threw me out, and my dad followed me. He locked himself in, and we started hearing him breaking stuffs. My keys and phone were in the purse, so I couldn't go back in. So Dad called the police. They arrived like half an hour later. During that entire time, we did hear him breaking stuffs. When the cops finally arrived, tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't respond, so they broke the door. And after another fight, they arrested him. I walked inside my place with another cop and my dad, and everything was destroyed. Everything he could break was broken. From glasses, to plates, to mirrors, to holes in the walls. Every TV, my computer, my phone, coffee maker, etc. Dad pressed charges immediately. I'm terrified, and I'm still terrified. We had a trial and he is in jail now, but I think he might be deported to Spain. I'm not sure. I'm still in therapy and still living with my parents. Some of my stuffs were repaid, but I'm still not ready to come back home. Sometimes I still wake up crying in the middle of the night. I don't know if I regret standing up for myself or if I will be able to trust people in the future. I might die alone without a husband or children, and that makes me sad. I had self-ending thoughts, but I find things that make me want to stay alive. I don't know when I will feel good for real, but progress has been made. Oh, and my ex-boyfriend's family are still trying to reach me to insult me and make me feel even worse for sending him to jail. I block them, but always find yet another phone number to call me from or a temporary email address. If you are reading this, thank you. I am so incredibly proud of you. You are a DV survivor. You and your father stood up to your disgusting abuser and finally got out of that awful relationship. This was so important for your health and safety. You did everything right. I'm so sorry you have had to endure so many terrible crimes. He never should have assaulted you, your father, or your personal items. He is a sorry excuse for a human being. Please be sure you hold nothing back when pressing charges and ensuring you get back as much as possible and that he goes to jail for as long as possible. Finally, please take care of yourself now. Do things you love. Reach out to friends. Pursue hobbies. Go to a spa. Take a vacation. Binge your favorite TV shows. You must live your life to the fullest and never let someone like him in your life again. Be proud of yourself. You are so strong. That escalated rather quickly. From we just wanted chicken fried rice to fist fights, property damage, and jail time? Yikes. Makes you wonder what wasn't said in the post, or what ex-boyfriend might have left waiting in the wings if OP tried this alone. Looking at what was said in the last post, I dread hearing what else this family did to OP. I mean, she cooked an authentic, and I'm certain, delicious Chinese dish that was close to her heart. And it was declared she was a brainless moron for not cooking westernized food. Yeah, the "I want to break up," and then the boyfriend's response of "No, I won't let you." The racism was a giant waving flag. That elevated it to a 250 decibel EAS warning. He sounds like the kind of racist craphead who thinks Asian women are demure and obedient and exotic, and fetishizes them to suit his ideals. Would not shock me if that was his stance. I am Chinese, and I've had to explain to people that what is commercially served in Chinese restaurants isn't always a good representation of what Chinese people actually eat at home. For example, lemon chicken isn't a traditional Chinese dish, and neither is General Tso's chicken. The boyfriend and his family is rotten, and I'm glad the OP got rid of him. Totally. An Indian friend of mine is the same about things like butter chicken. I'd love to try traditional Chinese food. OP would have made that from scratch and was probably quite time-consuming. That family's trash. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law that she doesn't have room to criticize the way I support my daughter's passions when her own husband is barely involved with her kids? My daughter Cameron is very artistic. Cam likes doodling and using certain online animation apps, but her preferred way to express herself is through street art such as graffiti. I have found an art class that specializes in graffiti for Cameron, as well as gotten her connected with specific zones where graffiti is allowed. She's staying out of trouble and it makes her happy, so I don't see any issue with it and encouraged her hobby. Some context about my sister-in-law Sydney is that she has 2 daughters, Eden and Ava, and her husband Benjamin is not involved with the girls at all. My brother-in-law is the kind of guy who brags about how he's such a man because he's never changed any diapers or attended parent-teacher meetings, and Sydney does it all. He's seemingly oblivious to the fact that this does not impress nor earn him respect from other fathers his age. Sydney constantly makes excuses for Benjamin's lack of involvement with Eden and Ava. Things along the lines of how it's her responsibility as the mother, or that since he makes more money, it is not his responsibility to step up as their father. Sydney seems to have internalized misogyny herself. I bring all that up because Sydney has become very vocal about her disapproval of Cam's graffiti hobby, and a lot of her complaints seem to be misogynistic. Things along the lines of how Cameron is 14, becoming a young woman, and needs to start acting like it. And that I should move her into classes for a more appropriate, feminine form of art like watercolors. I told Sydney that, unless Cam wants to, I would not be changing her art class or discouraging her graffiti. She's staying out of trouble, and it makes her happy. I see no issue with her hobby. Sydney called me irresponsible and said to think about the kind of potential partners Cam would attract with a hobby like graffiti. She then said that if Cameron keeps doing graffiti, she will eventually hang around a bad crowd and get into drugs. I told Sydney that she doesn't have room to criticize the way I support Cam's passions when her own husband is barely involved with Eden and Ava. Sydney and I got into an argument where I admittedly was yelling back at her. My wife had us de-escalate, told Sydney off, and we left. Once we got home and things cooled off, my wife explained that she did not regret telling Sydney off over the drug comment. But throwing Benjamin's lack of involvement in Sydney's face was just a low blow on my end. And that 2 wrongs don't make a right, since I could have addressed Sydney's comment without bringing the situation with Benjamin into it. I do see my wife's side and realize that bringing up Benjamin was a low blow. The 2 friends I brought it up to, however, said that Sydney had it coming, and that in a way, I helped Sydney because she needed to look at herself and her own family dynamics in the mirror. Now I'm conflicted. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law has essentially said that you have exposed your daughter to a bad crowd and that she's likely to get into drugs. She has offered her opinion that you should be encouraging more feminine art for her. What you should have said is, "Thank you for caring about my daughter. I'm happy for her to do this and I'm confident that it's safe. I don't think it'll expose her to a life of drug taking." I'm glad we can have these open chats about our kids because I've been feeling some concern for a while about the impact that your husband's neglect of Eden and Ava might be having on them. I'm worried that they don't have a strong bond with him and that in the future, they might exhibit some worrying attention-seeking behaviors from the males in their lives. I suspect that it gone down that way, she may have STFU'd. Agreed. If anything, having an established hobby that her parents support is going to keep her off drugs. Not a-hole. Sydney needed a slap off her pedestal. It's always entertaining when people don't look at their own life and try to control others. Her husband is an a-hole, and she's a bigger a-hole for allowing him to treat her and her kids that way. I'm surprised this doesn't get brought up more often, honestly. If that dude ever brags about that crap, I would hope other people tell him what a piece he is. Also, you remind her that many girls with daddy issues seek the wrong kind of attention. She needs to worry about the effects her husband will have on her daughters. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry, but I'm surprised by the all Yorty a-holes in here. In what universe is Sydney not the a-hole? It's none of her business how OP chooses to parent. OP is being supportive of their daughter's interest in the best way. Sydney and her internalized misogyny, something that's actually harmful to her daughters, can get out of OP's business. She has no right or place criticizing OP. I'm sorry, but if she didn't want OP criticizing her, she shouldn't have done it to OP. She simply got a taste of her own medicine. It was fair game. Again, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Agree 100%. Sydney didn't just express her stupid opinion, but kept escalating when OP declined to take her advice. It sounds like she's one of those pushy jerks who will not shut up when you ignore their advice. OP gave her a taste of her own medicine, and she didn't like it. Too bad. OP is not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my boyfriend's homeless friend? Original post. So my female 22, boyfriend 24, has this friend female 25 who moved in 4 months because she had nowhere to go. Now, I don't mind having her as long as she respects our boundaries and rules around a house, but that's definitely not it. She is very loud, comments on everything, and just does inappropriate stuff in general, and excuses it for being a Latina and that's just how they are. She doesn't help at all besides maybe cooking sometimes, but doesn't clean up the mess she makes, and she invites people over whenever she wants. She changes in the living room in front of us, literally took off her underwear, and I asked her to change in her room. But her excuse is that she was trying to feel like home and that she suggested I should too as it will strengthen my bond with my boyfriend. I talked to my boyfriend about how I'm kinda uncomfortable with this whole situation, and he told me not to overthink it, and that she's just very unbothered and cool. She always interrupted our time together too, and would sit between me and him during a movie, or take my space while I take a toilet break and she cuddles him in the most unfriendly way. When I asked jokingly if she was trying to take my man, she would excuse it on her ethnicity, and that's just how they grew up. So I knew I had to ruin this Friday night they had for them. I went up to them and she was all over him as usual. I called my boyfriend, and when he was about to get up, she said how it was their favorite part, and that he could leave later. I insisted, but she kept pulling him. So I went and pulled him to our room, discussed how what she's doing is really upsetting and that I no longer want her living with us. He agreed I had a right, but that she has nowhere to go, and that I'll have to wait until she finds a job, which she's not even trying to get. While we're talking, she came and tried to open the door, which was locked, so she started knocking. We just ignored her until it got louder and he asked her to leave, but she got even louder and then started saying how I ruined the only time she gets with him, which obviously is not a case. I had enough at that point, but my boyfriend suggested he talks to her first, so he went and they took too long, like almost 2 hours. And I went to check on them, and heard her telling him he shouldn't accept someone who ruins a friendship as a partner, and that is a big red flag and that he should kick me out. But this place is actually my property that I inherited from my aunt, and at that point I knew I had to kick her out. I didn't even ask what conclusion they came up with, and waited in the living room until they came out, and I just told her to look for another place and gave her 2 weeks max. She's been crying since yesterday, refusing to eat and not coming out of the room, and my boyfriend is saying I went overboard and I just hit a sensitive spot of hers. basically telling her to leave when she has no family or anywhere to go. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. This is your property, correct? She has some nerve then to suggest to your boyfriend he kick you out. Well, she didn't know it was my property. I guess she assumed we rented that place. Opie, what are you getting out of this relationship with your boyfriend? He moved his other girlfriend into your house. I can't believe you've given her 2 more weeks. I wouldn't feel safe around her, to be honest. I really think you need to consider the possibility that your boyfriend is cheating on you with this woman. Yeah, he is so cheating with her, or at least wants to. The changing in front of him in the living room would had me like, get out. The way he acts with her and stands up for her over Opie, says he's banging her. Not the a-hole, but you don't have a homeless friend problem. You've got a boyfriend problem. I suspect he may be building her an art room. Not the a-hole, but you should kick your boyfriend out too since he has no respect for you. They're both freeloading off of you and disrespectful as hell. Start the eviction proceedings. This right here. Opie, please evict them both ASAP. Your boyfriend is arguably worse than she is. Now for the update. Thank you everyone for the advice and helping me open an eye on the real issue. It was past midnight when I posted that, and my life literally took a 180 degree in less than 24 hours. It has been overwhelming, and I didn't expect this would reach many people. The comments were like a slap in the face I really needed. Apparently, I was too blind. Yeah, I guess my boyfriend isn't who I thought he was. He has been trying to give her food, trying to calm her down, and literally took a day off from college and work. He goes on Sundays too, which he never did for me. And he never even get days off from his classes unless really necessary with proof, nursing. So I don't know how he managed to get a day off. I really wanted to make sure it is what it looks like before deciding my next move. I prepared lunch way before Tom had asked him if he was around for lunch. His response? I'm trying to get her to have breakfast and you're talking about lunch? You're becoming unrecognizable. Yeah, I didn't know what to reply. So just ask again, but he said we can have lunch together if she's willing to join us, as it is rude if we eat without her. At this point, I felt like crap, to be honest. I'd asked him why she was so important that he canceled all his plans just to support her emotionally, which he never did when I went through things myself. But he just left like that. So I invited my guy friend over, which he doesn't like, and I explained to him our situation and just asked him to be comfortable. I didn't want to do the cuddling stuff like them because we didn't break up yet at that point. And it was weird anyways because we don't usually. My boyfriend never realized someone was over until he came to take food. He saw us having lunch together and he just gave me a look, said hi and was going to take some for themselves until he realized it was a creamy rice casserole, which his friend doesn't like. And yes, I did that on purpose, and chicken roast with some sides. And he literally glared at me and said, "You know she doesn't eat that." And I just replied, "Well, it's not her who I made this for." Then he threw the plate, started shouting, asking what the heck was wrong with me and that he wishes he never dated me. It was so scary my friend got involved. They got aggressive, and I just asked him to leave with his other girlfriend, which he replied with, "Oh, so you're replacing me that fast?" But I told him he was the one who has replaced me a long time ago, but I was too dumb to realize. He actually moved in fully when his friend came, and colleges here do provide dorms. But of course, it's not like she can live with him. And I couldn't care less anymore. Also, no legal action is required for someone you haven't signed papers with where I live. They were just guests. So I packed his things for him, which aren't a lot, and left it by the front door. He came crying and apologizing, and acknowledging what he did was wrong and just other BS I didn't want to hear because the damage was already done. My friend was of great support, and he dealt with everything else as I cried my eyes out in my room. And that sums up how I went through my first heartbreak. It was my first relationship and I did love him. But I guess I can watch, eat, and do anything now without catering to anyone's needs. I'm changing the locks tomorrow morning, and we're ordering fried chicken. Apparently a proven heartbreak remedy by my friend. And although her excuse was bringing up her race, I know better than that. Thank you all for your support. Dude was sleeping with that girl 100%. What a freaking dum-dum. Now both of them can be happily homeless. Lol. If he was sleeping with her already, it was definitely going to happen sooner rather than later. His friend overplayed her hand. The dummy just assumed the place was in his name. I didn't think about the possibility that Opie had the power to kick the both of them out. It seemed like the general plan was for OP to leave and for the boyfriend and friend to shack up together. Then they could claim to their friends that it was because OP was so awful they sought solace in one another, all the time ignoring that OP owned the place. Something I doubt the boyfriend told a friend. This might also belong in the entitled people forum because, damn, the ex-boyfriend of OP really thought that OP would house the potential side piece and him for nothing? Just damn. Of course he's crying and apologizing now. He just realized he may literally have screwed himself out of the house at home. He thought he was such a catch that OP wouldn't dare break up with him and would let his side piece continue pushing her out. Hope the side piece is worth homelessness. OP realized she needed to return this catch to the sea and did exactly that. Next story. Am I the a-hole for moving out because I don't want to help my boyfriend out with the rent? Plus mini update. My boyfriend, 26 male, and I, 24 female, have been together for 3 years. We live in New York City, and he makes over $200,000 per year while I'm studying for my master's in social work and have no income. Right now, I'm doing an unpaid year-long internship 3 days per week as well as classes 2 days per week. It's rare to get a paid internship in social work, plus internships are mandatory. I spend 12 hours every day either working, studying, commuting, or in class. My only free days are on weekends, so I have no time for a paid job. My mom helps me financially by paying for my Metro card and healthcare expenses, but everything else I rely on loans. Before I moved in with my boyfriend, there was a roach infestation in my apartment, so I'd stay over at his place a lot. My lease was ending soon, so he asked me if I wanted to live with him. At first, I joked with him that his living standards would go down since I can't afford a nice place. But he insisted on paying the rent until I finished grad school. Then we would split the rents based on income. I originally wanted to live in a cheaper place in Queens or Brooklyn, but my boyfriend likes his current place and insisted I move in since he would be the one paying the rent. So I moved into his $5,000 per month luxury condo in the city this August. All of a sudden, my boyfriend recently started asking me to pay half that rent, $2,500 per month. I was confused because he was the one who wanted to pay the rent in full. Apparently, he was talking to his friends and they all think it's weird that I don't pay rent and that I was a gold digger. I let my boyfriend know that I can't afford $2,500 per month, and he said I was leeching off of him. So I told him that he should find someone within his social class then so he doesn't have to worry about a gold digger like me leeching off of him. I stayed at my friend's place for a few days while figuring out what to do. I called my mom about my situation and she is willing to help me out, but the maximum she can afford for rent is $800. I found some places in Queens within the price range, less than 15 minutes away from the city and a bus ride away from my school, so I went to check them out a couple days ago. I've been texting the landlord and my new roommates and I already signed a lease. I told my boyfriend about my new place and he got upset and asked me to stay. He said that he was willing to accept $800 per month instead of $2,500 per month if that's all I can afford. But I told him I don't want him changing his mind again and demanding more money from me in the future. He lived in this condo alone for several years, so it's not like he can't afford to live there without my help. I wouldn't mind splitting rent with him, but I would have to live in a more affordable place outside of Manhattan like I originally wanted. Apparently, some of our mutual friends think I'm being unreasonable for moving out, instead of talking to him and staying by paying the amount I can afford in rent, and that I shouldn't have let him pay my portion of the rent. Now for the top comments. Around he fooled and out he found. Not the a-hole. It is refreshing to see someone just up and say, nope, that ain't gonna work, and then promptly exit the crappy situation and take care of things. The audacity to suddenly demand a cool $2,500 after you had an agreement, knowing you had previously suggested moving somewhere affordable and he insisted, because his friends hurt his ego while grossly insulting you. Make him seem weak-willed, thin-skinned, self-centered, kinda manipulative, and a terrible negotiator. Because now he's sat home alone with his sad face on that his girlfriend left. Plus, he's got no chance of getting a bit of rent for the place he probably can't afford, and no chance of lording it over you anymore, which it seems like he might have been inclined to do. Talk about a backfiring plan. For real, if he got convinced by his friends she's a gold digger when he was the one who insisted on you moving in without rent, and suddenly asking for $2,500 per month? He knows you have no source other than loans and did all this. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. They think you're being unreasonable? That's rich. He literally convinced you to move into his apartment, turning down your offers to find a cheaper place so you could contribute. The fact that his friends see you as a gold digger and don't appear to know the full story that you offered to pay and to find a cheaper place and he insisted otherwise is also a red flag to me. It makes me question how he talks about you to his friends. Definitely not the a-hole, and I would question why you would want to date someone who is so easily influenced by his friends' uninformed opinions of you. Seriously, he needed to tell his friends, "You don't know her? She's not a gold digger. I'm the one who asked her to move in, and that I would pay the rent until she finishes grad school." The fact that he didn't is probably because he partially believes them. I'm with Opie. He moved the goalposts twice already and is messing with her life. She should keep her independence. Update. Yes, I did dump him. I blocked him and his idiot friends and everything. My friends also blocked him since he tried to contact me through them. I'm going to enjoy being single and never relying on a man financially ever again. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my daughter's mother to walk back into her life as if nothing has happened? My 19 male used to be in a relationship with my daughter's mother Ashley, 19, through high school. We didn't use protection as she told me she was on birth control. I know now. Very stupid on my part. Her parents moved so she had to move high schools. She broke up with me, and I hadn't heard from her until 2 years ago when she showed up at my house with a newborn. She told me she was mine, and said she didn't want her and that she was giving up her parental rights. My parents went mental with me, obviously. Fast forward 2 years and we have had a paternity done. Confirmed that I'm the father. Got her parents involved who didn't even know that she had a baby. And been to court and been given sole custody of Leah with the help of my parents. Her parents wanted nothing to do with Leah, so custody wasn't an issue. My parents have been brilliant. And now I am legally an adult. Sole custody has been given to me. Now, Ashley wants to meet her daughter. I have said no for now as I don't trust that she's not going to walk away again when she gets bored of Leah. I'm not ruling it out at all, but I don't want to put my daughter through losing her mom again. I asked my caseworker and she said after speaking to Ashley that she wasn't convinced she really wanted to have a daughter either. She made it seem like she thinks it would be cool to have a baby, which is not the reason for getting in contact. My caseworker and lawyer have both said that I am under no obligation to allow her back into Leah's life as she signed her rights away, and so did her parents. I have explained how I feel to Ashley and why I said no, but she called me an a-hole. Her friends have also been calling me an a-hole around my college. Ashley doesn't go to my college, but now everybody knows what happened from her friends. Some people didn't even know I had a child before all this. I just want to know if I'm an a-hole. Not the a-hole. Putting your child's needs over the absent mother is the right thing to do. Exactly. Leah is a toddler. Right now, her biggest needs relationship-wise are stability and desire to be present. Mom can want all she wants, but unless she's willing to be a stable, happy presence in Leah's life, then it's better for her that her mom is absent. I got confused with the first paragraph, but if Ashley walked out on Leah, then yes, you have every right to doubt her. And the fact that she told her friends about your situation and put people against you? That sucks, man. Zero maturity on her part. If Ashley really loved Leah, then she should have kept things between you two and been patient. Sorry, when I wrote the post I was angry and it all just came out. Ashley walked out on Leah and signed her rights away. She describes Leah as a cancer sucking the life out of her to her friends. I know I am biased as she is mine, but I don't know how anybody could describe a baby like that. She describes Leah as a cancer sucking the life out of her to her friends. Not the a-hole. Don't let Ashley back in your life in any way. That right there, that's not the sign of someone ready, willing, or able to parent, much less be a good human.